We're returning to Phantasy Star now, but rather than move along the main series, we have a set of 8 short text adventures based on the party of Phantasy Star 2. These were released through the Sega channel in Japan, then released on a collection disc for the Mega CD, before their most recent release 2 decades ago on the also Japan exclusive PS2 Phantasy Star collection. So of course, these games were only released in Japanese, but an English fan translation exists, which I am using here. So this translation sticks with the Japanese names, which is fine. But to keep a bit of consistency with my Phantasy Star 2 videos, I'll use the English names when applicable, but make sure to point out these name changes to prevent any text being misunderstood. Each one is a story about each of the game's 8 party members set before the events of PS2. So first we have Amiya's adventure, Amiya Imerski being the Japanese name of Anna Zursky, a character I kept in my party for a huge chunk of Phantasy Star 2 and I found very useful. Set at B-Rock on the planet Motavia, a village at the far end of the planet, Anna is already an accomplished hunter at this time, having built up 15 arrests by now. She is here to track down a group of Motavian thieves accused of hacking Mother Brain to disrupt the dome farm that supplies food to this region. The bounties offered for arresting hackers is quite high. Parking her buggy near the village, Anna has to find her agent liaison. I have a few options for actions, but given these stories are only around 20 to 30 minutes long, there isn't that much to do. I inspect the inside of Anna's Doom buggy, then choose to look at the panel, where I find a wanted poster for the Motavian hacker. The hacker's name is actually Hack. I look in the glove box to find a knife. I take both objects and move east, my only option. It leads to a hill where I have a view of both B-Rock and its dome farm, and past that a mountainous region. Any terms highlighted in yellow I can have some kind of interaction with, usually just looking. I can look at B-Rock to see that it's impoverished, and the dome farm to be reminded that the Mother Brain regulates all growth on Motavia. But at this point in time there's no indication of the Mother Brain's true purpose. I continue east to reach the entrance to the dome farm. I can inspect it to see that its door has malfunctioned, being stuck open. From here, moving south as we enter the farm. And I can tell that something has gone wrong here, as most of the food grown here has already started withering. The storehouse is to the south and the control room to the west. I check out the control room first. It just reminds me that the dome is remotely controlled by Mother Brain, so I check out the storehouse. Checking the crops here shows that even the harvested ones have started rotting. It's clear that no workers have been here for a while. I leave the dome and head north to the base of the mountains, but this is another dead end. So I return to the dome entrance and continue east to reach B-Rock Village. The town is miserable, with every house locked up but one. I move south to that house. There's a single man drinking while staring distrustfully at Anna. I can have him ask what Anna is doing here, then respond by showing him the wanted poster to make him reveal that he is the liaison. He gives her some handcuffs for when she finds her target. Back north and north again to reach the village plaza, where several villagers can be found. By checking them out, a man and woman can turn to face Anna. The man says that they've been too afraid to go near the worksite ever since the Motavians showed up. The woman says they'll have to go back to work eventually though, or everyone will starve. I go back to the dome. At this point it's become evening. A Motavian emerges from his hiding place. 7 or 8 more appear and they enter the storehouse, while a very tall one of them goes to the control room. Since tall Motavians are very rare, this must be Hack, the one Anna is looking for. I follow him to the control room and find him hunched over a keyboard. Anna approaches from behind, but Hack turns around. I take out the handcuffs, but then the other Motavians start piling into the room, knocking her out. She wakes up to find the place deserted. Checking the control room has Anna figure out that Hack was accessing the Mother Brain from this computer. Checking the computer has Anna discovered that the circuit for the switch has been cut, probably Hack before he escaped. I return to the mountain base and look around to find Motavian footprints on the floor. Following them leads to a gap in the rocks, where there's a narrow path to the north. I follow the path which eventually splits east and west, with Anna spotting the movement of a shadow to the east. I head that way to be attacked by a flying biomonster. There is combat in this game, and it sucks. You use one of your items, roll a pair of dice, and that determines your damage. Then the enemy does the same. There is no strategy and it is random. And with no checkpoints, you could get screwed by bad dice RNG and have to repeat the entire story for another go. The only upside to combat is that each chapter has its own battle theme, and some of them can be catchy. I take the bat down in 3 turns, losing 17 of my 50 HP. This path is a dead end, but there is a mushroom on the ground I can pick up. I go back and take the western fork to reach a cliff. I head south to reach a dead end with a pole in the ground and with a warning flag attached. I take it. Back to the cliff and north to reach the mountainside, where boulders are growing moss. Inspecting the moss reveals it is damaged, probably something rubbing against it. The trail of damaged moss leads east, so I go that way and can move in all 4 directions from here, but a screech can be heard to the north. There is a nest made by a Motavian crow. The chick here is what I'm fighting. It takes 4 turns to kill, the writing trying its best to make you feel bad for what you did. Back south, I continue east into a stone corridor. There's a metallic object on the floor, which turns out to be part of a trap to capture monsters. I use the pole on the trap to set it off and make this area safe. I keep moving east and then south, ending up in total darkness. I can't go any further. Eventually, I figure out to return to the crow's nest and look inside to find an infrared scope. I head back into the darkness, now just a tunnel. On the western wall is a door with a knothole. Peeking through reveals the room is full of Mortavians. So I go west to find another storehouse. It's filled with boxes, mostly nothing useful, but I do find and take a boomerang. Back to the tunnel, I head north to find a dining room. It's empty, but there are chairs around the table and food set. I steal the food and eat it, fully recovering Anna's health. I then head south and find Hack in his room. He isn't surprised to see Anna, he just laughs. There's another door to the south, but he's in the way. I try the handcuffs again, but he just runs off south. Anna notices when hearing his taunts that he speaks very clearly for a Mortavian, sounding more like a human. I head south, exiting the cave, and have a further choice of south or west. To the west, I get attacked by a hornet. I miss my first attack, but the second is enough to kill it in one. During this fight, Hack has disappeared. I go back east and then south to end up in another fight. Hack beckons Anna towards him, but between them are hole worms coming from the ground. This one takes 2 hits to kill. Once again, Hack ran off during the fight. I move west to end up in another cliff. To the south, a desert can be seen below the cliff with very strong winds. I keep moving west along the cliff to see more desert. Anna can see Hack at the bottom of the cliff as he runs to the east. All I can do up here is keep going west to find a cabin. It's very damaged, but I go inside. Anna sees some fabric on a wall, joined with a stick to form a hang glider. I take it and return to where I found Hack. I use the hang glider, safely landing in the desert below. I start by moving south to find a field of stones littered with bones. One skeletal hand is holding onto a silver key I take. Back north and then west to find a boulder with a box behind it. The box is locked, so I use a silver key on it to find a pair of sand skis. With it now easier to travel across sand, I go back east and east again to a quicksand dune. A green hill can be seen to the south. I move that way to find a cactus garden. I can use my knife on the cactus, cut some off and eat it to restore health. Back north and east again, Anna can see a shadow, the silhouette definitely belonging to Hack. South to a quicksand whirlpool, Anna finally has Hack cornered. But a group of Mortavians appear and back Anna to the edge of the whirlpool herself. Hack approaches and I have Anna try the handcuffs again, but she loses her balance and falls into a whirlpool. The other Mortavians celebrate while Hack kneels and looks on. Looking at Hack will have him offer his hand to help Anna out, but once she grabs him, Hack falls too and they both sink. Anna wakes up inside a cavern. Hack lays next to her unconscious. Anna believes Hack must have shielded her with his body. I move east some more to recover Anna's knife, handcuffs and boomerang. Going back to Hack, I finally place the handcuffs on him. At that moment he wakes up. He calls Anna heartless for repaying his help this way, and he doesn't believe she'll be able to get him out of here anyway. I let him complain and move west into swampland, seeing the entrance to a familiar cave. An unknown rumbling sound can be heard while Hack has no choice but to follow. I ask him for directions, but he's not very helpful, so I go north. There's some tall grass here and a nest. Inspecting that has me find an egg I take. Talking to Hack has him mock Anna, saying that she's probably dying here and it's her own fault having such an unladylike profession. Back south and south again takes me to a lake. Hack says going this way will drown the both of them. Back north and then west puts me in a fight with a frog. More importantly, they must be close to being out as it has begun to rain, reaching down here. I give it the egg to make it eat it and go to sleep. I can now move north. Anna is exhausted and lightning has started striking, lighting up a shrine to the west. I head into the shrine to shelter from the storm. Talking to Hack has him decide to stop being a dick and give Anna his cloak to keep her warm. This reveals that he isn't Mortavian, but a young human. Yeah, this is going where you think it is. The photograph falls to the ground when the cloak comes off. It shows a human couple. Handing it back to Hack has him say that they were his parents who disappeared when he was very young. This made him believe humans were heartless, as it was Mortavians that took him in and raised him. Anna sympathises as she lost her own parents at a young age, but she still has to arrest him because it's her job. Well, that and my parents disappeared isn't exactly a good reason to starve an unrelated village's population. As dawn starts, they notice a crevice in the wall, giving a view of the B-Rock village. The only thing keeping them from freedom is a boulder blocking the way back. Anna can't push it, so I have her silently pester Hack to do it. Then he kisses her and it's supposed to be emotional, but no. Moving west takes them back to the village, which is quiet with nobody awake yet. Going south takes them back to the agent liaison. He assumes Anna is wasting mission time on a date. I retrace the steps back to the Dome Farm's control room. Hack says he found the password he was looking for and looks up his parents. They died in a car crash the year he was born, then the Mortavians took him in. This allows Hack to let go of his bitterness, knowing he wasn't actually abandoned. Now he knows his parents weren't evil, he throws those Mortavians who raised him under the bus, saying they taught him to be a criminal. He's ready to hand himself in, but Anna decides to let him go, deciding he suffered enough. But she also reasons that if he isn't returned to the Mortavians, they might attack the village to look for him. She also states she has developed feelings for him. She returns to her buggy and reports the unsuccessful mission. This is apparently the incident that led to Anna abandoning her position as a hunter and becoming a counter-hunter. Basically the same thing, but she also hunts down corrupt hunters. The point of these is to let us know a little more about a pretty underdeveloped party. This is not a great start. I came away from this liking Anna less. Hearing in the original that she hunted down the corrupt in her job gives you a certain image of what led her to this. But then we find out it's because she falls in love with an arsehole who belittles her for being a woman in her job, calls her stupid and heartless, forces a kiss on her, inflicts great suffering on innocent people, and is ready to change who he blames for his actions instantly, and decided that guy was just too good to face punishment. This chapter really did her dirty. And fuck Hack. Everything I just said and they expect me to think he's not that bad, piss off. I was very disappointed to see how they treated the character I spent a lot of time keeping in my party. Let's just hope the next one goes better. This is Anne's adventure, Anne Saga being Amy Sage's Japanese name. In Rivertown, Amy has just finished her internship, employed at a small hospital. One day the director tells her that an elementary school in Woodtown has been attacked by biomonsters. He wants Amy over there to treat the injured. I leave his office into the hallway, I head south into another corridor and west into the sick room. Checking out the patients, there are 5, one of them a 10-year-old boy. He's building a model ship, the glue he used being nearby, so I take it. Talking to the boy, he says that somewhere near here is a rock hiding a crystal that makes your body extremely powerful, and that he's going to look for it when he's better. Back in the corridor, I go east into the supply room. The key to the pharmacy is there, so I take it. Back to the hallway to use the key to unlock the pharmacy. Inside is one of the original game's healing items, a Trimate, so I take that too. Back to the hallway and north takes me out of the hospital, then east to a street corner. There's a wooden plank on the floor and I take it with me. East some more has me enter a weapon shop, where the owner says that her cheapest weapon is 100 meseta, I only have 20. So back to the street corner and north into Rivertown. A young man is hanging out here, talking to him as him praise the owner of the nearby shop as a master carpenter, so I head east to enter said shop. But I have nothing for him right now, so I leave and go west to knock on the door of a small house. A woman answers and, recognising Amy as a doctor, asks her to check out her ill daughter. The girl has a fever, so I give her the Trimate, healing her instantly. As thanks, the woman gives Amy 70 meseta, just barely not enough for a weapon. Back outside, going north takes me to the outskirts, where there's a stylish house. Reading the sign here teaches me that Woodtown is to the north. Checking out the house reveals that it's actually Amy's house. Going west to enter Amy's house, I can take her nail puller with me. Back outside and going north takes me to a bridge, but it's broken. There's a notice nearby warning me of a one-eyed man known only as this scoundrel. From here I go west along the riverbank, getting stared at by a Mortavian. He wants a tool for pulling nails, and I give him mine in exchange for a raft. I was expecting a huge wooden thing, but it's just a rubber raft. And the fucker scammed me, it has a hole in it, so it isn't taking me anywhere. But I can glue the hole shut so I don't have to put any holes in him. I keep going west to the riverbed, where across the river from here is a forest and a small building. I try the raft, but I lack an oar. I return to the workshop in town to hand over the plank and have it cut into an oar. It cost me 50 meseta. I return to the riverbed and now I can get in the raft. I move north to end up outside the abandoned house. The house is boarded up, but I do see a sack on the ground and take it, finding 100 meseta inside. I return to the weapon shop in town and buy myself a knife with that money I found. Returning to the busted bridge, I go east this time to end up in a fight with a massive ant. I manage to defeat it in 3 hits with minimal damage, but it runs off with my knife still stuck in its body, after all the effort I went through to afford it. In this spot I get in the raft again and go north towards Woodtown, but the raft begins to deflate. The hole has reopened and I'm stuck on the other side now. Going east puts me inside a cabin. Amy checks out all the details in this place before she actually acknowledges the owner, Hines. He's researching healing techniques and will offer a free heal if I return to him. I look through his desk to find and take a Dimate, the basic healing item from the original game. Back outside I go west to reach the other side of the broken bridge. Going north takes me to a fork. The guard here tells me not to take the route leading into the forest, so I go east and see Woodtown finally coming into view. North has me reach Woodtown to find that it wasn't just a school, biomonsters have wrecked the entire town. Buildings have been completely destroyed and smoke rises from everywhere. There's one man beside the ruins of his home. He mumbles to himself that the poison fangs can't stand the smell of red flowers. I go north to reach the school I was looking for. There is not a sound coming from it. I go north to the edge of town to see a flower bed. I take a red flower, it giving off a strong scent. I go back south and then east to enter the school, which is in darkness thanks to biomonsters cutting the power. Can't go any further without a light. Back into the main area of Woodtown and west, I end up fighting a poison fang. I use the red flower to scare it off. North from there takes me to another section of town reduced to rubble. There's an old man on the ground poisoned. I go west to enter a second-hand shop. The place is smashed up with no one inside, letting me take this laser knife for free. Back outside and south, I have to deal with the poison fang again. The laser knife can do a lot of damage, but so can the poison fang. I end up needing to use the red flower again to survive. I return to Heinz to have him heal me and give it another go. It seems damage dealt is kept after it flees, and my first hit kills it. Amy makes an antidote from his corpse, which I give to the old man. He thanks Amy by giving her a lamp, so it's back into the school to have a look around. I go north into the faculty room, still no sign of life. There's a history book here, left open on the page that tells of a golden ring on an altar in the forest. South into a corridor, Amy can hear noises up the stairs. I go up them and see a huge biomonster. It doesn't care about Amy and continues towards a classroom. Amy can't risk the monster finding any possible survivors, so I have to fight. But a voice yells out that normal weapons can't hurt it, only the golden ring can. So I have to flee and let the monster roam free a little longer. Back to the turning point, the guard has collapsed. Checking him reveals that he's dead, his back sliced up by a biomonster. I come back after healing with Heinz and go west into the forest. This part is Forest C. North takes me to Forest E, where there is a stone monument at the base of a large tree. It has an engraving reading Alschlein Melts Stone. West takes me to Forest F, west again to Forest G, west again to Forest B. West once more takes me to the edge of the forest where I'm attacked by a grass killer, the sickles giving away that it killed the guard. It takes a few hits to defeat it and make it run away. North from here is the mountain pass, where there is a hut to the west. I go in and get held up by a one-eyed man with a shotgun, the man from the wanted poster. He's not alone, and Amy gets choked from behind and chloroformed. She wakes up inside their hideout with a headache and pain everywhere. She has no idea how long she's been out, but she's been bound and gagged, left with a young man guarding her. By continuing to look at him, Amy notices the man blushed, and she realises he may have more of a conscience than the others. Eventually, continuing to stare has him give in and let her go. Going south puts me in the room Amy was attacked in, the rest of the gang not here. I look inside the desk here to take a key and an old tome. I go up to the second floor to recover my raft and lamp. I move south from the hut near a river, finding a jet scooter. The key I took was for this. Getting on the scooter, I start moving east along the river. I return to the riverbank where the Motavian was. He regrets his swap and wants the raft back, returning my nail puller. I use the scooter to return to the abandoned warehouse where I found the sack of money and use a nail puller to remove the board so I can get inside. It stinks of mould, but there's an altar here. Place of sacrifice is inscribed on it. I offer up the old tome and a bright light from the altar grants me the golden ring. I return to Heinz for a heal. He instead gives Amy his pendant that allows her to use the technique Sarasuta so she can heal others herself. But using it to heal others will drain her own health. With what I was after, I return to the second floor of the school to find the biomonster nowhere in sight. I inspect the classroom it was eyeing up and find the teacher and children very badly injured, but still alive. I heal everyone, losing 10 HP. The teacher says that the monster was a kite devil and they believe its next target will be Rivertown. I rush back towards Rivertown, finding that the bridge connecting the towns has been fixed. This gives Amy hope that the town's maintenance program is still online, meaning the town must have survived. But I reach the outskirts and see it in ruins, making her fear the power of this one monster. Her own house is just rubble as well. Going west from the outskirts takes me to an open field, the only place spared. There's a strange rock here, and inspecting it has Amy sense a strange power. I go further into town, the street corner wrecked, the outlaw who attacked Amy in the mountains lying injured. I heal him, moving him so much after what he did to her that he gives her a small bottle of Alschlein. I return to the rock in the field and use the Alschlein on it, melting it away and leaving only a crystal. I return to the hospital, walls crumbling from the damage caused by the kite devil. I find the injured director and heal him. He says they hid all the patients in the basement, but the kite devil is heading that way. I enter the supply room to find it. I use the crystal to form a barrier, but a single hit from the kite devil defeats Amy. But rather than dying, Amy wakes up in Heinz's cabin. He says that taking on the kite devil alone was foolish, and that he will join her this time. I return to the supply room and Heinz takes the golden ring. He'll do the fighting, needing Amy to heal him. But it's still me making the decision to fight with the golden ring. Even Amy's HP is used to represent Heinz's, so it's just a normal fight gameplay wise. It only takes 3 hits from the golden ring before the Kite Devil crumbles and shatters. I go into the basement to save the patients, finding the young boy first. It wasn't just the patients, the entire town was hiding here and applauds Amy. Amy though is forced to take in the fact that her home and the hospital she works at has been destroyed, and realises that there must be people all over the planet suffering like this. This puts her in her position at the start of the original game, ready to travel the world to put her healing powers to use. This was so much better than Anna's story. What I love is that it really sells the terror of these generic random battle fodder from the perspective of a normal person who has to live in the world where they exist. And for a character I never thought of much in the original game past, I guess I need a healer so she can come too, Amy comes across really well here. Sure, she needs a bit of bailing out in the final battle, but even in the original game, physical fighting wasn't her strength. It shows how far she'll go to help heal people without giving up even when at first glance things look to be completely lost and hopeless. It made my opinion of this character really shoot up. But now we get to check on the original game's main character in Eustace's adventure, Eustace being Rolf's Japanese name. Strange that the main character is the only human party member to lack a surname. I guess maybe they didn't want to give away that he's a descendant of Alice from Phantasy Star 1, but the game set 1,000 years later, it's improbable that the surname Lansdale would pass all the way directly down to him anyway. This one starts further back than the others, with Rolf as an 11-year-old, still living in Paseo. He's living in an orphanage after his parents' death in an accident the previous year. Even this young, he's proven himself to be an exceptional student, sportsman and especially swordsman. This granted him a lot of fame that left him very arrogant, but fate has a lot planned for him even before the fight with Mother Brain. I start in Rolf's bedroom and look in the mirror, really showing just how highly he thinks of himself at this point in time. I move east into the hallway and east again into the room of his friend Shelley. Looking at Shelley tells us that the two have feelings for each other, but I don't recall Shelley making any appearance in the original game, so I don't have a good feeling for her chances. Even snooping around her shelves right in front of her to piss her off doesn't affect her feelings. Back into the hallway and north into the entryway. A security guard won't let Rolf leave at this time of night without the director's permission. So back south and south again to another hallway. East into the dining room to swipe some bread from one of the tables. Back out and west takes me to Dick's room. He says that a famous fencer has been coming to the gym lately and that he may even be more skilled than Rolf. That pisses Rolf right off as he has never lost a duel, not even to an adult. He's just going to have to beat this guy and prove his superiority. Talking to Dick again has him say that he swiped some booze from the director. Talking to him again makes him admit that he also likes Shelley and wrote her a love letter, but he wants Rolf to deliver it because he daren't. I return to Shelley, give her the letter, and don't tell her who it's from so that she thinks Rolf wrote it. While Shelley is glued to the love letter, I can freely snoop about her shelves and steal a doll that is very important to her. I give the doll to Dick to make him think Shelley is returning his feelings. While he dances around the room in happiness, I steal the booze. I go back out and south to the director's office. He just tells me to go to bed. I return to the entryway and give the security guard the booze. He downs it all at once and falls asleep. I go west into the storage room and take my sword. Back west and then north out onto the streets of Paseo. I go west to end up outside the sword gym and then north to go inside. Rolf asks the instructor about the swordsman, whose name is O'Connor. He's here but busy right now, so the instructor will spar with Rolf instead. Strange that while every chapter has its own battle theme, Rolf gets a variation of Amy's battle theme, everyone else gets a unique track. Thanks to bad dice RNG, I miss my first attack and barely defeat the guy with just 12 HP left. The instructor points me over to O'Connor's room. And O'Connor is the commander from the original game who I joked about looking like Simmons from your video games. I'm finally learning his name, which as far as I'm aware disappeared through the cracks during PS2's localization, unless I missed it being mentioned somewhere. He's heard of Rolf, but he isn't too impressed and thinks he needs to be humbled. You cannot win this fight, so Rolf must experience his first loss. O'Connor laughs at Rolf for genuinely thinking there could be no one out there more skilled. Rolf runs out into the city aimlessly, only becoming aware of his surroundings when he gets deeper into the city. He stumbles into a Motavian soothsayer who can work out Rolf's troubles. Rolf asks how he can regain his self-confidence. He is told to work hard and overcome his shortcomings. And that's enough for Rolf, he just has to keep practicing and one day he'll be able to beat O'Connor. He is told that Uzo Island would be the best place to train as it is uninhabited, so the Solitude would let him focus. This gets Rolf fired up and he prepares for his trip the next morning. I go to the director's office to get his permission. The guy is somehow perfectly fine with an 11-year-old going off to an abandoned island to live in solitude. He gives Rolf a farewell gift of 50 meseta. Dick is still asleep from the drinking he did last night, so Rolf chooses not to bother him. Shelley is also asleep and Rolf worries that if he tells her, she'll cry and convince him to stay. Outside the orphanage, I go east to reach the Paseo airport. The gift from the director pays for his ticket and the plane takes off. If the island is uninhabited, why are there regular flights there? There's no airport staff there? 8 years later, 2 years before the events of the original game, Rolf returns, now aged 19. A neat little mention is that the other destination at the airport is Skyon, a town on the planet Palma from the first Phantasy Star, where Odin was from. Of course, this is 2 years before 2, so Palma hasn't been blown up yet. I go west to return to the streets, the city having expanded greatly in his time away. But Rolf can still see his old orphanage to the south. It looks to be the only place that didn't change while he was away. I go into the storage room, which seems to have been neglected for a while. A desk in here holds a membership certificate, so I take it with no idea of what it's for. Moving down the hallways, Rolf's and Shelley's old rooms now belong to new orphans. The dining room and director's office are still the same though. In the dining room is a man sat at a table with his head in his hands. It's Dick. I take the bread next to him. Dick recognises Rolf, but trying to get anything else out of him makes him cry. So I check in on the director to find that O'Connor is there too. He'd like to see how Rolf has improved, but now isn't the time. Shelley, who'd stayed here to look after the newer orphans, has been kidnapped. They left a ransom note demanding someone come alone to Myra Tower in Skyon if they want Shelley back. O'Connor was going to go, but Rolf volunteers instead. The director gives him a space pass and 200 meseta. I go back to Dick, who asks Rolf to give Shelley the contents of a golden box when he finds her. I can return to the gym for one more sparring session with Rolf's old instructor. I defeat him, but it takes a million hits for some reason. The instructor gives Rolf an old tape that he says explains how to perform the Phantom technique, Tendo Zanhaken. After swiping some more bread to heal with, I return to the airport. So we don't get to see it because it's all text, but we actually get to visit a little bit of Palma during the Phantasy Star 2 time frame. Moving east takes me to an inn, and I can rest here to heal for 100 meseta. Up the stairs is a tape recorder and a black key. I use the tape on the recorder to learn the Phantom technique. The tape gives one last warning that the technique drains the user's energy before it crumbles to dust. I have to waste my bread to make inventory space for the key though. Back to the airport and then west and north to enter a weapon shop. There's a light sword on display here, but the owner doesn't sell to non-members, so I go back south and then west to a road where I'm attacked by a mechanised soldier. 3 hits to deal with it and it drops 200 meseta. I return to the weapon shop and show the owner the membership card I pinched from the orphanage to make him sell me the light sword for 400 meseta. Back to the road and west again, Rolf sees a strange structure here, realising this must be Myra Tower. I approach the tower, but it's locked. I move north into a vacant lot where a warehouse can be seen to the east. It's locked, but the black key can unlock it. Inside I get attacked by another soldier. The light sword takes these down even quicker. He drops some dynamite and another 200 meseta. After staying at the inn, I use the dynamite on the entrance of Myra Tower to blow the door open. Starting on the first floor, I move west into a small room and up the stairs to the second floor. I move east and east again to find a gold key on the floor. I use the gold key on the golden box Dick gave me to find the doll I stole from Shelley and made Dick think she was giving to him. I get a bit lost, constantly moving east and west and checking out all the southern forks until I find a room with a card on the floor. I take it and from there I go north, west, north and east to find a laser gun I take. I go north, east, north, north and up the stairs to the third floor. Up here is another locked door requiring the card I found to open. Inside I find Shelley. Rolf is stunned by her appearance after all these years, but then she starts attacking him with a sword. She looks to have been brainwashed, refusing to let Rolf go further. 2 hits is enough to defeat her. Even lying injured, she still tries her best to block Rolf's progress. I give her the doll. Remembering it as her favourite, she says she was looking for it for so long. This undoes the brainwashing. She recognises Rolf, but they don't have time for a proper reunion with her kidnapper still here. I go up the stairs and then north to find a shutter. Rolf is certain the kidnapper is behind it. I use the laser gun to cut through the shutter and keep moving east. The room is filled with computers and there is a man with his back facing Rolf. The man turns around to reveal that he is O'Connor. He claims to have staged Shelley's kidnapping to lure Rolf here to destroy him, as his 8 years of training makes him a threat to O'Connor's plans of world domination. The final battle starts and I get cocky, turning down the chance to heal at 2 HP and being defeated. Thankfully this doesn't make me restart the entire thing, so I can limp down to the inn, heal, try again and win this time. Rolf goes for the killing blow, but Shelley stops him. There was no kidnapping. The entire situation was a test that everyone was in on. Shelley is now an agent of the Motavian government and O'Connor the Governor General. O'Connor explains that he attained that role 8 years ago and moved to Paseo hearing the rumours about Rolf. He knew he'd need a successor one day and thought Rolf would be perfect were he not so arrogant. So he humiliated Rolf as a child to motivate him to be better and reach his true potential. That's when Dick, the director, and even the soothsayer who recommended Uzo Island to him appeared. The kidnapping plot was developed as his final exam for becoming an agent, and he has passed. So even the part about getting the security guard drunk so Rolf could leave the orphanage to fight O'Connor was planned too. Rolf accepts his new job, putting him in the position to act out the events of the original game. I found this whole 8 years of solitude and then a staged kidnapping plan everyone was in on and Rolf taking it so well a bit hard to believe, but I appreciate this one for letting us know more about Rolf. In the original game, he isn't terribly interesting, so getting to see how he used to be and how he improved was nice. It's a shame they set up a little social circle for him that has to just disappear after this because they were created after the original game was made. Because it does bring up questions about this years-long attraction between him and Shelley and how it panned out. 2 years later, he's just got Nia living with him as a younger sister figure and Shelley is nowhere. Did things either progress in the next 2 years and then go south, or did their jobs as agents keep them apart? I'm actually interested here. When I first played, I was certain she was going to be killed off to explain why she isn't in the original game, but apparently she was added to Phantasy Star 2's PlayStation 2 remake, so maybe one day I'll get to that and see how they fit her in. But let's move on to the last one for this episode, Huey's adventure. Huey Reen being Hugh Thompson's Japanese name. You know Hugh, right? The only party member in the original there's no point to ever use? Well, this takes place during his university days in Kvat City, a place not far from Paseo that wasn't important enough in the original game to appear in it. He does genetic engineering research for the university. Huey's relaxing, enjoying the cool summer weather when his Visa phone rings. The president of the university wants to talk to him. Out into the city's central avenue, I move north to the crossroads. A street says the university campus is to the east and the energy centre to the west. I try the energy centre first, but the guard won't let Hugh in. So I go east twice to the university. The flowers on the campus were created by Hugh in his lab. The students nearby are talking about rumours of the gym being haunted. North takes me into the lobby, the receptionist saying that the president is waiting on the second floor. I should say that this one is painful to watch back in script because it was the first I recorded as it was the first guide I found. And I was still getting used to all the menus, so everything is so slow. I go upstairs to the president's office. He says that there are rumours of a strange creature roaming the campus and he wants you to investigate before there is an incident. Back down into the lobby, I go east into a hallway. I go north to the cafeteria to notice that the usually crispy chicken meal is soggy, and to speak to Hugh's never before mentioned girlfriend, Rita. Hugh tells her the situation, but she doesn't know anything about it. Hugh tells her he's been working on a new kind of flower and that he'll give her one when they're finished. I head east into the kitchen where the chef is in a bad mood. They get him all these expensive cooking appliances, but the bad energy supply is keeping him from cooking properly. He wonders what's going on down at the reactor. Checking the appliances confirms there's no problems on their end. Back into the hallway and south into a shop. This place sells Motavian manju buns, but a single one costs double all the money I have. Back to the hallway and east into another. East again into a classroom where I can ask Hugh's friend Lloyd about the creature. He thinks he saw a shadow moving around the gym basement. He also demands the 50 meseta Hugh owes him. There's also a metal bat I can take here. North puts me in a storage room, but there's nothing to do in here. Back to the hallway outside this classroom and south to a third hallway, then east into another classroom where I look through a locker to find a pair of novelty fake glasses. Back to the hallway and south to a fourth hallway. Here I go east to enter the research department. I go to grab the key to the labs, but the box that holds it is empty. Back out and down the stairs in the fourth hallway to the power section. But the guard won't let Hugh in without his clearance, and he was in such a rush to get here that he forgot his card. So I go back to the cafeteria where Rita lets Hugh borrow hers. Back to the lobby now, then south to the front gate, then south again to the gym entrance. This is where Hugh's enemies, Rhodey and his gang, are hanging out. It turns out they're all jealous because of his relationship with Rita. So to avoid a fight, I have Hugh wear the fake glasses so that he can pretend to be a member of staff and scare them all off. I then continue south into the gym. I read a nearby sign saying that going into the reactor room is prohibited without permission, as it's where the gym equipment is powered. I go south again to see that reactor and see that a power line has been cut. Taking a closer look has me attacked by a petite flower, the likely culprit. You'd think the metal bat would be the obvious choice of weapon. You'd be wrong. Rita's ID card is so razor thin it deals comparable damage to Rolf's light sword from his chapter. It's not long before the flower is killed. It drops a key belonging to the biology group. The flower's body then starts moving and escapes through a crack in the floor. I return to the research department and unlock both doors. I go north into the lab belonging to Ralph, who is experimenting with his gene synthesizer. He's another of Hugh's friends. Hugh doesn't tell him about the current situation and just lets Ralph complain about the guard, because he keeps buying up all the manju buns. I next check out Hugh's lab. This is where Hugh is developing his new flowers unlike anything on Motavia. Checking the monitor shows that they have been receiving far more power than intended. Hugh is troubled by this, but is focusing on the plant monster, a connection never occurring to him. I take Hugh's lab coat only for a mad flower to be hiding behind it. 2 cuts with the ID card defeats it and the flower escapes into the basement through the floor. I rummage through the lab coat and find 40 Meseta. I then put on the lab coat to increase his defense. I go back to the shop and use that money to buy a manju bun. Then back to the power section to bribe the guard with the bun. I go south into the passageway, then east into a second passageway. North from there is the security room. All the rooms on the monitors are empty, but the transformer room's camera display isn't working. There's a stun baton to take too. Back south and east into a third passageway. The cracks in the floor here contain a sticky fluid. North into a fourth passageway to pick up a mop. Back south and east into the janitor's closet. Looking at the vent in the ceiling shows that there's something out of reach inside. I use the mop to pull out a shotgun and take it with me. Going back west and west again, then south into the lounge where the security guards take their breaks. There's a vending machine that only works with a security ID card. Or I can use my shotgun to make it malfunction and give me a free Dimate. Back north, east and north to the fourth passageway, then east to a fifth. A sound can be heard from the transformer room to the east. I go east to check it out. Huge tentacles belonging to a crazy wire are breaking through the wall. The shotgun rolls 3 dice, causing enough damage to defeat it in one. The tentacles escape back into the wall. I move south into a 6th passageway and down the stairs into the control room. The operator is here, standing terrified in front of the row of monitors. He saw a monster on one of them. Hugh can see something move into the reactor room. I go west to a 7th passageway and south into the reactor room to find the culprit, a massive plant monster, the Keith flower. After a bit of fighting, Hugh notices that it's absorbing power through the lines, so I cut them with the ID card. Weakened, the flower flees through the ceiling. I return to the President's office and explain everything. Based on what we've seen of its evolution and behaviour, he works out that the flower's next target will be the energy centre, so he makes arrangements to get me access. I can visit Rita and Rhodey to get some words of encouragement, and I return to the energy centre, being allowed in this time. I go south into the lobby, then west into an office. It seems no one told the staff, as Hugo has to really try to get their attention and tell them what's going on, but they've heard nothing about any monster. Next I go south into a dressing room. Hugh can see movement behind one of the curtains in the women's showers. Against all odds, it's a woman showering, and he takes damage from the resulting beating, both physical and reputational. So I leave and go back in. In that time the women have fled and I can steal a bottle of shampoo. Back to the office and west into a passageway, then south into the cafeteria. I can loot their vending machines for Dimates too. Back into the passageway and north into the secretary's office, then west into the chief's office. He thinks he'll wipe out the monster with his family sword if he runs into it. I go back into the passageway and continue west into another, then west to the third shutter. This shouldn't open without a staff ID card, but using the shotgun on the switch works too. Past it is the second shutter and I do the same thing. Then the third shutter, and behind it, the plant has evolved into a crisis flower and has attached itself to the reactor. Checking out the reactor, Hugh realises he could make the flower absorb more power than it can contain. He just needs the control key. Trying to cut the power lines here would result in an explosion that would wipe the city off the face of the planet. I retreat through the shutters, which now have plant tentacles growing through. I return to the chief's office to find he has fled, along with all his expensive decorations. I take the control key from his desk and have to fight off all the tentacles in the shutters to reach the control room again. I insert the control key and load up the flower with energy, but the key breaks from being turned too much. The key is the same shape as the shampoo bottle I took and fits in perfectly. The creature starts mutating uncontrollably and explodes into petals. Hugh recognises them as the flowers he was working on. He realises his own experiment evolved out of his control. That's when everyone we know turns up. Rita hits Hugh for causing this mess and it just ends. This was alright, better than Anna's anyway. We learn a bit about Hugh, not enough to make me care, but also get no satisfying conclusion. It basically ends on a gag. But that's where we'll be leaving it this time. Another game I thought I could do in one video, but the script is turning out way longer than expected. Next episode we'll look at the remaining 4 chapters for Kane, Nay, Rudolph and Cher. We're back to finish off the other half of the Phantasy Star 2 text adventures. The first one this time, and 5th overall, is Kynes' adventure. Kynes Jian being Josh Kane's Japanese name. This one takes place in the city Loom. This says he's 14, making this 7 years before the events of PS2. He has been living in Loom for the last 4 years after running away from his town of birth, Romtat. Everything after that description is written in first person from Kane's perspective. He's woken up at 2 in the morning by the sound of an air patrol flying past his apartment. I get to look around his room. His favourite computer is in here, which he can use to connect to outside networks and do a bit of hacking. I can also take a knife and the core, a circuit board used for the Saigon he's been planning to build for years but still lacks all the parts for. North takes me to the apartment corridor where Kane's friend, Yuki, has a room to the east. I check on his room to see that Yuki is out for work. He's a computer programmer and is often gone for days at a time. But Kane is expecting him back tonight with the data Kane asked him for. I go north into the lift and take it down to the bottom, then get out at the apartment entrance. South takes me outside and south again to the shopping district. The casino to the west and a diner to the east. Instead I go south, further into the shopping district. A disco to the west and a boutique to the east. South some more to another section of the shopping district. A Chinese restaurant to the west and a bar to the east. They have Chinese food in the Algol system. I thought the Earthmen haven't made direct contact yet and are still hiding behind Mother Brain on the Noah. I can enter the bar, where Kane is known, and go up the stairs. There's a drunk man screaming and I have to take on rat-faced Nazumi. I defeat him in 2 hits and before he runs away, he informs Kane that as long as someone called Melville is around, Kane can't just do whatever he wants. I go talk to the bartender who isn't a fan of Kane fighting in his bar, but he says that his air conditioning is acting up and wants Kane to look at it. He lacks the correct tools though. I next check out the disco. Kane isn't a fan of places that play loud music. Me neither. But someone who does is Sue, a girl who Kane believes likes him. She tells him that McCoy said that he has the stuff for Kane and asks what he meant by that. I do not answer and go further west into the alley. There's a toolkit here so I take it. With this I go back to the bar and fix the aircon, getting paid 200 meseta from the owner. Kane leaves and the bar explodes behind him. Kane realises he must have messed up the connections in the wiring of the air conditioner. He needs to flee. I move south to the outskirts of the shopping district. The airport is south but closed and McCoy's place is to the east. It's a place where you can work out a deal to get anything, no matter how dangerous or illegal. I go inside and use the 200 meseta I got for screwing up that aircon to buy the stuff from McCoy. It's a gun frame, intended to be used building the Saigon. I next head into the Chinese restaurant, pissing off the host royally. He knows Kane blew up the bar across the street. The owner survived and has reported him to the police, so the host doesn't want Kane anywhere near him. I don't give a shit about what he wants and I go up the stairs to stare at a couple enjoying a meal, Kane recognising the man. He is Chang, someone with a lot of influence in this area. He gives me a coin for visiting the restaurant. I next check out the casino. There's a guy called Randolph here, too into getting his ass kicked by the slot machines to pay me any attention. I give Randolph the coin I got from Chang and he warns Kane that Melville is after him. He also gives me a glow stick. I can go west into another alley, south to the one behind the disco, then south again to an alley behind the restaurant. Then south again takes me to a dead end where there is a manhole. There's no cover so I can go inside. Down in this tunnel, a light reveals that it stretches a long way east. So I go east and then climb up, ending up in a rubbish dump. There just happens to be component parts of the Saigon here. I head west into a park, then west to the park entrance, and west again to return to Kane's apartment. The light is on in Yuki's room so I go in to see him. He has the data Kane wants so I combine the components with the core and give Yuki the full core for him to program the data into. I then insert the gun core into the gun frame to make the Saigon. I then head outside the apartment and go west to a street, then west again to another street. West again takes me to a police box, a kiosk that houses robot police officers. This one already has orders to arrest Kane. Time to test out the Saigon. I mess up and shoot at the poly box instead of the officer, wasting my first turn. The Saigon rolls 5 dice, enough to destroy the robot in one shot. I keep moving west, taking me to a warehouse. They were supposedly closed down a while ago after being overrun by biomonsters. There are a few men arguing and Kane approaches them slowly, but he gets hit in the head from behind and knocked out. He wakes up inside the warehouse, tied up while 5 or 6 men surround him. One of them is Melville. He wants Kane to use his talents for him. He wants Kane to destroy Mother Brain. Kane says that getting inside is impossible, let alone destroying it. Melville says that the dad of someone called Maria used to work in Mother Brain and probably still knows the passwords to deactivate its defences. He just needs Kane to deal with the rest after that. Kane wonders what would even happen if Mother Brain was destroyed. Kane still refuses, but since he knows their plan, Melville says he'll have to stay tied up here until it's accomplished. He and his gang then leave. Looking at the window reveals that they left him on a high-up floor so less people could hear him shout for help. The wire he is bound with is made of steel and needs a key to be removed. Looking at the window again has Sue shouting for Kane. He can see her so he at least knows she's here. So for now I take control of Sue while going through the warehouse. South takes me inside, south again to a room with a walk-in capsule. The room to the west has Sue trip over a hammer, which I take with me. Back west and then south again where there is a 2-story ladder. I go east where there is a car, but its key is missing. I go back west and up the ladder to the next floor. Going east has me in a fight with an amoeboid. Using the hammer, I smash the wooden crates in this room, revealing a paragon. Doing this and then taking it gives the amoeboid 2 free turns. Then a few shots splatters the amoeboid. I go back west and down to the first floor. I return to the room with the capsule and get inside to fully heal myself. Back to the ladder, I go up to the second floor once again and up once more to the third floor. This puts me in the control booth where there's a Manta fight. This man is so resilient he takes several shots from the paragon without being defeated. He actually manages to kill Sue here. And no checkpoint, I have to repeat the last 90 minutes to have another chance. This time I leave in the middle of the fight to go heal in the capsule, then come back to finish him. He collapses into a twitching mess and drops a key, which I take. I go back down the ladder and go north, then north again to find Kane. I use the key to unlock the wire, getting Sue a big snog from Kane. That's 4 out of 5 chapters so far, granting the character a love interest who doesn't appear in the main game. Apparently that kiss almost knocked Sue out, so Kane takes all her items and tells her to wait there. Kane needs to stop Melville, but his Saigon was taken too. But back up to the 3rd floor where Sue fought that man, the Saigon and knife are here. But they took the Saigon's energy charger, making it only half as effective. Looking around the control panel in here, I find the key to the car on the 1st floor. I go to the car and turn it on, Sue suddenly being beside Kane. The sound of the car's engine playing loudly over the music sounds awful, by the way. Going north takes me onto the highway, then east to the entrance to Mother Brain. So it was moved in the 7 years between now and the original game? But I can't get in, so I drive back to the warehouse and return to the plea box to take out another robot cop. I only get 3 dice to roll without the charger. I go back to the shopping district and finally enter the diner I ignored earlier. I talk to a customer, but he's far too late to tell me that Melville is going around forming a gang. I talk to the old man who runs this place to get a meal for 10 Meseta to restore my health. An air patrol has landed in front of the bar I blew up by now. I take Sue into the boutique, then into its inner room where Maria and her father are. Maria has been crying. She begs Kane to stop Melville before he gets himself killed. Her dad asks for the same, so Kane yells for the password to enter Mother Brain. He gives it, but Kane needs to hack into Mother Brain to use it. I trek all the way back inside the warehouse to the car and drive back to Mother Brain, finally able to get inside. I continue east into a passageway, then east some more to find Melville laying down, the rest of his gang nowhere to be seen. He's still breathing. He tells Kane he was too impatient and that one day he'll understand. He gives Kane a pendant, telling him to give it to Maria. I suddenly get attacked by a Coolie 61. Kane knows without the charger his Saigon stands no chance, and tells Sue to go hide in the car while he covers her. I escape west into the passageway but get chased. West again and west once more to get outside and reach the car, but Sue is missing. I escape to the warehouse and while backtracking have to take out another robot by the plea box. I return to the boutique, inform Maria of Melville's possible death and give her the pendant. She lets Kane have the Airbus ticket Melville was planning to use for his getaway so that he can escape and goes with him to the airport. But Kane says he doesn't know for certain if Melville is actually dead and he still doesn't know where Sue is. But he has no time to wait, as if he's caught, he's not living. Maria takes Kane to the airport and returns his energy charger, which Melville left with her. I put the charger back in and enter the airport only for the Coolie 61 to be waiting. 2 hits with all 5 dice is enough to destroy it. Maria pushes Kane onto the plane, Kane reassuring her that he's sure Melville survived. His plane sets off for Paseo, Kane certain he will never see that town again, but the memories of living there will remain. He gets a tap on the shoulder from behind. It's Sue. And that's where it ends. My memory of playing was mostly negative, but watching this back, I think I was just in a bad mood from having to repeat the entire thing when I died. Otherwise, I liked it. No grand population threatening danger, just a guy making a couple mistakes, getting mixed in with the wrong people and having to escape. I'm not sure how I feel about Sue escaping with him. She doesn't appear in the original game anyway, and before those last lines of text, I kind of liked the idea of Kane being rushed to escape, leaving him with all these dangling worries that he can never get closure on. Sue doesn't need to die for this idea, and I was hoping she wouldn't be killed when she disappeared, just that Kane doesn't get to find her before he's forced to escape. Just an idea. But now let's move on to Nay's adventure, Nay being the only character to not get a name change in the English localization. Hers takes place only a few months before the events of the original game, before meeting and being taken in by Rolf. She still has the mind and appearance of a child, as her rapid growth hasn't got her to where she starts PS2 at. After wandering alone aimlessly, moving from town to town, unable to find a place to settle, she has managed to stumble upon Paseo. Despite her cat-like ears, she has the mind of an ordinary young girl. But that's enough for those who hate her for having biomonster DNA. She once had a loving family, but that was taken from her half a year ago. After being alone at birth, she was found and raised by a kind middle-aged couple. But a mob attacked them, chasing Ney out and burning her new parents' home down, only Ney making it out alive. Since then she has had no home and no one. All she has left being the memory of her burning house and the hunter who led the mob, a man with a scar on his cheek. She reaches the gate of Paseo, the gate guard threatening her not to stay around here too long. She can take in the central tower, her parents having told her of its beauty once. I head north to the tree-lined way, passing through rows of houses. Further north along the tree-lined way and north again to reach the Tower Plaza. Ney gets to take in all the average people living their average lives. There's even a statue of the legendary heroes Alice and Meow from Phantasy Star 1. Odin gets forgotten because who gives a shit. Checking out a seemingly normal couple has the woman afraid of Ney and telling the boyfriend to get her away. Even the other people around Ney act differently, not confronting her but barely hiding their disgust. Going west takes me to the crossroads where there is a 3-story building to the south, but back to the Tower Plaza and east takes me to a T-junction. There's a truck in the road blocking the way east, so I go north to a path where there is a mansion at the end. I can't get in, but I can notice that the wall and trees are covered in cat biomonsters. Ney wonders if the owner really likes them or if they've been collected for another purpose. Back to the crossroads and south to the 3-story building, a hospital. A nurse comes out and tells Ney she should leave now or she will be removed if the doctor sees her. Back to the crossroads and north takes me to another path. Here are a bearded man and a hunter chatting while drinking in front of the weapon shop. The bearded man is the owner, while the hunter has a tranquilizer gun he's wanted to try out on a long-eared monster. I go north to enter the shop only to get shot in the back by the hunter. The hunter is disappointed though. While biomonsters can be sold for a decent price, it seems as if someone like Ney can't even be given away. So while Ney is passed out, he drops her off at the dump. Ney eventually wakes up with a rabid dog staring at her. I take the nearby wooden plank and start swinging. It takes 3 hits to make it run away. Moving south puts me in a vacant lot, where the Clone Labs is. Going south takes me inside it. The man in here has the first reaction to a human biomonster that isn't discussed, but it's still not much better. He wants Ney as a specimen to study. I have Ney leave and then go east, taking me back to the crossroads. I return to the hospital, where the nurse actually takes pity on Ney and treats her, but still can't let her into the hospital to avoid distressing other patients. I return to the Tower Plaza and south to the second tree-lined way area. There's a schoolboy playing on the porch of his home, so I go east to approach him. The kid, named Kid, is not afraid of Ney and plays with her ears. He thinks they're cool and wishes he had ears like that. He warns her that monster hunters have been coming by recently and that she should be careful. Talking to him again has him ask if Ney will be his friend. When she accepts, he asks if she wants to play at his grandfather's house, the big mansion I've already checked out. He says his grandfather is really nice and that he'd love Ney. He also gives Ney a pastry. But then his mother comes out and drags him inside, saying he shouldn't play with strange children. I return to the mansion and go inside. The walls are covered in drugs and preserved research specimens. The smells of the drugs seem to stir some memories in Ney, but she can't place where. The grandfather notices Ney and takes out a notebook, comparing its contents with Ney's appearance. But Ney isn't what he was looking for. The one he is looking for should look younger and more like a cat. He can't get past how close the ears look though, but accepts Ney isn't the one he's looking for. I leave and return to the first tree-lined way screen, where there is now a soldier standing in the shade. He introduces himself as Rudger, this being the Japanese name of Rudolph, the third party member from the original game. He's been ordered to exterminate biomonsters and is about to leave town. He doesn't know if he'll survive the mission or return to this city, but he believes his meeting with Ney was fate and so he gives her something to remember him by. It's a silver bullet pendant. He says he did this because he just wanted to say goodbye to somebody before he left. So Rudolph had this emotional moment with Ney a few months before the main game and then just forgot about her by the time he met her again. I return to the weapon shop without getting shot this time, though Ney does get yelled at by the owner. The hunter who shot her is still nearby. Ney manages to make him feel guilty, so he gives her some jerky before he leaves. The owner, after looking miserable at seeing Ney, lights up when he sees the pendant. He tells her that ancient manuscripts said they were once used against wolf people. He'll offer her a weapon in exchange for the pendant. Ney doesn't have a choice and he takes it from her, giving her an animal claw. It was used by Meow in the first Phantasy Star game, and the owner restored it and modified it to be fit for human hands. I return to the front porch where Ney played with Kid. the setting triggering her memories and making her start hallucinating, making her imagine she has returned to the home of her adopted parents. Moving east has Nay enter the house by mistake. She feels comfort from the smell of a baked pie and the sound of Kid's mother hoovering, but then she sees Nay and freaks out, driving her out the back door. In this rear alley, the back door is locked, so I can't go back that way. East puts me in a field. There are men here having a bonfire, the flames bringing back the memories of her home being torched and the hunter who led it. Speaking of which, the men are all clearly hunters, Nay even recognising the one who burned her home down by the scar on his cheek. The hunter also notices Nay and goes to catch her. I have Nay escape west back into the rear alley. Every possible escape route is blocked, so Nay has to climb into the rubbish bin to hide. The hunter screams and swears as he knocks everything over looking for her. He says out loud that he knows Nay is the monster the old man is looking for. He gives up and goes to look elsewhere. Returning to the field, I go north to enter the residential district. At this point, Nay is too nervous about being found again to stand straight. Moving east has Nay enter another house where the housewife inside beats away Nay with a mop. Going back outside and heading north takes me further into the district. Despite most houses looking to have been neglected, there is one that looks immaculate. Going east puts Nay into a messy house with a young man playing an adventure game that is very clearly this game. The man himself doesn't want his game interrupted. Going outside and north puts Nay in the nice house. There's a young man on the sofa, nearby is his trophy for winning a championship fencing tournament. He can tell Nay is tired and allows her to rest here. He reassures Nay that she has nothing to worry about, as he can tell she isn't a bad person. After Nay rests, I return to the rear alley and go west, taking me to the T-junction. Back at the mansion, I can have Nay stare at a family of cats and feel a connection with them. Inside the mansion is the old man's notebook. I take it, and inside is the records of the growth of the certain biomonster, its documentation ending 6 months ago. I return to the field, continuing west to another dump, seeing a small kitten being attacked by another rabid dog, the one she met near the mansion. 3 hits scares the dog off. Nay checks on the kitten and in return it tickles her legs. She asks if it will be her friend and it seems to accept, then jumps out of her arms to show her a nearby manhole. It goes underground, so after resting at the young man's house, I follow. Down in the sewer I move west, then north, taking me to a dead end. Back south and west, where I can hear the sound of a cat in distress. Then west again to have an iron grill fall from the ceiling and block the way further west. From here I move north into a waterway, where the kitten is meowing at something that can be seen on the other side of the waterway. Checking out the shape, it looks like another white cat. I move west, then south to reach the opposite side of the fallen iron grill. West some more to find an unlocked safe so I can take the card key inside. Back east, north, then north again into a machine room. Checking the room has me find a control panel that controls the drainage. I use the card key on its slot to drain the sewer. Back south and east I can now go north to the waterway, then north again to find a dirty kitten, the one that led Nay here, reuniting with it and comforting it. From here I move south, south, west, west and north. Here we're attacked by a giant rat. I get royally screwed by the dice rolls, missing a lot of attacks, so the rat ends up killing me. No checkpoints, even with previous chapters having you respawn at places of rest when available like this one has with the young man's house. There's another 25 minutes to repeat. Knowing the route, I get back here in 12 minutes and don't get fucked by the dice RNG, killing the rat. I continue east to a dead end and look through a hole. The kittens can pass through, but Nay is too big. The cats hiss as it turns out the giant rat survived. It rushes for Nay, but she dodges, the resulting crash crumbling the wall and killing the rat for real. I can now continue east, reaching the bottom of the well. There is ivy here strong enough to use as footholds and the kittens get climbing up it. Using them I can climb out, right into the mansion's back garden. The sounds of the fight can be heard inside. Looking through the window, the old man can be seen lying in a pool of blood, the hunter standing over him. He's tired of being sent to hunt for monsters and is demanding the old man's money. The hunter walks out of Nay's sight. I go inside and see the man's lab in ruins and his safe emptied. The old man is dying, but he recognises Nay, saying that she has already grown up since the last time he saw her. He realises that she is Nay, who he has been looking for a while. Despite his research predicting her rapid aging, he still didn't realise it was her at first. He takes out a small bottle and gives it to Nay. It contains medicine developed by himself and Nay's foster parents, representing the peak of their biomonster research. They were experimenting with combining the genetics of humans and biomonsters. The experiment failed due to an accident, but Nay was still able to be born from it. But the old man considered her a flawed product and tried to kill her, making her parents flee the lab with her. He just couldn't let them get away with it, but only now that he's dying does he realise that hiring the hunter to kill her was a mistake. When he murdered Nay's parents he didn't realise it, but now that the hunter has killed him too, he has. The only apology he can offer is that the medicine he gave her can be sold for a high price, which he admits is not enough. He then dies. Despite everything he did, Ney can still feel pity for him. Ney realises leaving through the front door would probably get her caught, so I leave through the window to the east. I can take some catnip from here, which affects Ney like it would a normal cat. I go south, then east to the residential district, returning to the young man's house for a rest. I take the medicine all the way to the clone labs. The man who wanted to research Ney is happy to pay 500 meseta for it. I return to the weapon shop, where the owner notices the animal claw getting worn out. 300 meseta covers the cost to get it repaired and improved. I head back into the field where the hunter is once again having a bonfire. He says he has no business with Ney anymore with the old man dead, but he's going to kill her for a laugh anyway because he finds her ugly. He deals a lot of damage, but is defeated after 3 hits. The hunter is knocked down and Ney also collapses in exhaustion. Ney is helped at the last second just before the hunter can get one last shot in. A man stands between them with a sword, telling Ney she is coming back to his place where she'll be safe. He's the young man who lets her rest at his house. Ney passes out and wakes up in his house. The man says Ney needn't worry about the bounty hunter, he's been handed over to the authorities. He recognises Ney as a good fighter, and since he has no family and is all alone, he wants Ney to live with him as his little sister. She accepts. And if you didn't play his chapter and missed the fencing champion reference, this makes it clear that the young man is Rolf. Ney would continue to grow quickly, not just physically, but mentally too. Described as if her suppressed consciousness was set free as a result of Rolf actually treating her like a human being. For the first time in 6 months, she has regained the ability to trust in another person. She would be able to live life peacefully and sleep without nightmares. For about 7 more months anyway. I really liked that one. Because of how limited the original game's storytelling is, we get a few hints of Ney's troubles, but they're all in the past. Here we actually get to see the struggles she went through before finding Rolf. It lets us know why Ney is so clingy with him by the time of the original game. And it does something far better than the original game tried to do, and that's show the ugliness that hides in society on Motavia, seeing just how terribly the vast majority of people treat Ney. It gets quite upsetting to read. I feel like if we got to see some more of this in the original, I'd have had more of a reaction to her death. But then there's Daram. That hunter chasing Ney is definitely Daram, right? Considering Rolf in the original game says he attacked Ney a few months earlier. If you watched my Phantasy Star 2 videos, you may remember I found Daram's subplot the dumbest part of the game. My daughter was kidnapped, so I'm going to cause havoc for other people for my own self-interest, not to find her again. Oh, this woman looks and sounds just like my daughter, but because she's wearing a veil, I better kill her. Oh no, I killed my daughter. Good thing I always carry a bomb on me to kill myself in case of this exact situation. And then Rolf is just, is this truly what society has become? But that ridiculousness is the only showcase we get of Motavian society declining, and it's right at the start of the game. But we're supposed to think it's a tragedy, and his daughter's death maybe, but as we see in this game with the stuff Daram has done for money, he's a complete monster. Him blowing himself up isn't a tragedy, it's the most decent thing he's ever done. But let's move on to something not much cheerier actually. We have Rudger's adventure. As I said, Rudger Steiner is the Japanese name of Rudolf Steiner. Set 3 years before the original game, which also means 3 years before his cameo in Ney's chapter, in the town Mahal. He's been a soldier for the Motavian government for 5 years at this point. The summer at Mahal is so hot that it makes Rudolf realise this year has been hotter than usual, making him wonder if Mother Brain's climate control is malfunctioning. Rudolf was at the military base, but was given the rest of the day off duty, but on his way home he felt the ground shake with similar force to an erupting volcano. From here he can see smoke rising from the town. He begins to rush home, worried for his wife and son. From the base I move north to a road, finding a staff I can take with me. I continue north to reach the crossroads. Moving east into the forest path has Rudolf attacked by a biomonster, a man-eater. The staff isn't the strongest weapon out there, so it takes 3 hits to kill it. From here I go north into the deep woods, where there is a pond, a giant tree and a canteen lying on the ground that I take. Fill the canteen with water from the pond and then climb the giant tree. I take a rusted knife stuck up here and look inside a hollow to find a net, which I also take. Back to the forest path and east to the town entrance. There's an empty cabin here and a ladder, which I also take. I move further east into town to find that Mahal has been completely destroyed. Rudolf runs to his house to find his wife, Emily, on the ground clutching his son, John. Both are dead. Rudolf breaks down and cries, and eventually buries them. He takes in the damage to the town around him. There's smoke coming out of fissures in the ground. A pumice boulder is in the town from an eruption along with a small hole. I can sharpen the knife against the boulder to make it good as new. I then continue east into the desert road. It was once a grassy field, but is now just sand. Continuing east takes me to the gap in the road, where I'm attacked by a sand shark. Rather than use a weapon, I empty water from my canteen onto it. Contact from the water makes its body swell and rupture, killing it. Going east some more to the end of the road, there is a person lying beside the road, still alive, with a shovel next to him. Rudolph goes to him, but his injuries make him hard to understand. He says that the people of Mahal were consumed by something, repeating something about a mole before his injuries kill him. I take the shovel and get a closer look at the dead man. His right foot had been bitten off. I return to Mahal and use the shovel on the small hole to make it wide enough for Rudolph to fit through. Down the hole, the cavern it leads to is surprisingly large, but it's also unbelievably hot. The path to the east is blocked as the mud that way is boiling, enough to make it bubble and steam. But using the ladder, I can cross. But past the mud pit is darkness. Further east is the end of the tunnel. Using the tree roots in the walls, I can climb out into the forest village. Hidden away, but still devastated and abandoned. There's a 2-storey building to the north and an animal trail leading south, but is impossible to follow. I go north to the building's exterior. Somehow this building survived whatever happened here with no damage. I go inside to find that it's an inn. The innkeeper takes pity on Rudolph and allows him to stay here for free whenever he needs to rest. He also warns that biomonsters are being unusually violent outside of the village. Outside the inn, I go east to find an old cabin, then east again to go inside. It looks to be a shop run by an old Motavian. He's very old and looks to be struggling, so I give him my staff and he gives me a shotgun as thanks. I return to Forest Village and use the knife on the animal trail to make it passable. I continue south, leading into Camper Forest. There's a hammer here, so I take it. Further south puts me in battle with a Licker at a campsite. The first shot does a lot of damage, but then the dice RNG fucks me over by making me miss every subsequent shot, so the Licker can slowly kill me. The inn isn't a checkpoint like I would have expected, so I have to restart the entire thing. Thankfully it's only 10 minutes I lost this time. Next time I blow it away, finding the cloth sack behind its body. I take it, finding 500 Meseta inside. I go back outside the old cabin and continue north into a dying forest. There's another hole in the ground that looks to have been dug by a giant mole. The trees here are withered due to the intense heat from underground. I keep moving north further into the forest, where I can find and take a harp. I can also use the hammer on a palm tree here to grab a falling nut. I go back south and climb down the hole. There's a sound of running water down here and I move east to a riverbed. I can see a rubber raft here and take it, but I lack an oar, so I move south into a rocky area, getting attacked by a hungry ape. I give it the palm nut to make it leave me alone. Further south takes me to a ferry landing, where the ferryman stands with his hovercraft. I pay him 500 Meseta for a membership card. Using this card I have him take me over to the Red Beach. There's a palm frond here, so I take it. Going east takes me to the Red Copper Mountain. There's a key here, but my inventory is full, so I move north into a mountain hut. There's a big book here, but first I go into the cellar down the stairs. There's a lamp in here, and I drop the rubber raft, a red herring existing only to waste space, and take it. Back to Red Copper Mountain and south to the mountain road, then south again to enter a cave. The cave is a maze, and I go west, west, south, south, west and north to find a door. I go west to enter it and get attacked by a big slime. It's quite durable, taking 4 shots before dying. There's a rope in here, so I drop the palm frond to make room for it. I return to the Red Copper Mountain and drop the knife to pick up that key. Back to the Red Beach, I go south to a cliff. I tie the rope to a tree to make it possible to climb down the cliff. I go down, stopping in midair near a waterfall where faint echoes can be heard. I shoot at the waterfall, scaring several bats into flying out, teaching me I can get behind it. Behind the waterfall I continue north to a cave mouth, finding a skeleton with a journal next to it. I take it, but the language is something Rudolph doesn't understand. I move west, finding a door. It's locked, but my key opens it. I go north through it and get attacked by a strange man. I play the harp to soothe him. The man says that this mountain is sacred to Motavians, so they arrested him when they found him wandering around. But then a drill mole attacked and killed most of the Motavians while he was jailed. He lets Rudolph know that mole biomonsters hate the smell of palm trees and they're attracted to shiny things. He thanks Rudolph for saving him and leaves. I then backtrack to the mountain hut. I take the book, which allows me to translate the language in the journal. The journal's writer was a treasure hunter. He says that the treasure is behind a door, that a gemstone is needed to open it, and that the guardian of the cave hid it in the cedar forest. He wrote this after being shot in the back by a poison arrow from a trap. I recover the palm frond I dumped. Leaving it that deep in the maze was a bad decision. I also have to return to the tree in the deep woods near the start because I forgot to pick up the net after I restarted. Returning to the forest path screen, I go south into the forest clearing. There's a mushroom here, so I take it. Back to the deep woods, I put the mushroom in the pond to bait some fish, then use a net to catch them. Turns out I need my knife again, at the other side of the game. So it's back to the Red Copper Mountain where I left it, so I can gut the fish I caught to find the gemstone inside. Back into the waterfall and the screen where the locked door was, I continue west to a bend. Thanks to reading the journal, Rudolph can step around the trap that killed the treasure hunter. I continue north to find an ornate door. I place the gemstone in its indentation to open it. Then inside the treasure room is where I find the drill mole. I distract it by holding out the palm frond and making it smell it, but then it knocks it out of Rudolph's hands. I then get using the shotgun. I miss a shot and end up with 4 HP, so I have to flee to heal at the inn. I come back and one more shot kills the mole. Even after its death, Rudolph continues to shoot its body for what it did to his family. He keeps shooting until there is nothing left, but it doesn't bring back his wife and son. Once the pointlessness of what he just did sinks in, he just stops and stares. But then the entire cavern starts to collapse and he's forced to flee. The sanctuary that the Motavians had protected for centuries had collapsed, but Rudolph didn't care. Rudolph just held back his emotions and swore to kill all biomonsters. I'm not sure about this one. I felt all the adventure game faffing about actually distracted me from the important events. Having to mess about in the forest before you reach Rudolph's home and all the steps to find the drill mole. I even feel his family's deaths felt a bit rushed, as the game has to get continuing right then. I feel Amy's chapter did a better job at showing the terror of living in the world with biomonsters. Still better than Anna's though. That just leaves Shilka's adventure. Shilka Lavinia is Cher Gold's Japanese name. Set in Paseo, 2 years before the events of the main game. Cher stares out the window of her expensive hotel. She got into being a thief after a life of being the daughter of one of Paseo's richest families left her with very little adventure in life. Her current target is a painting on display on the 10th floor of the art gallery next door. A painting of Opa Opa from Fantasy Zone worth tens of millions of meseta. North to leave Cher's room, then west to the 14th floor. North into the lift and down to the 1st floor, then out into the lobby. East takes me to the front desk to talk to the woman there to get a credit card for use within the hotel, with the bill being paid when checking out. Back to the lobby and west into the sporting goods shop. Being so rich, Cher can easily afford the expensive hang glider and surfboard. Back up to the 14th floor and west to the emergency exit. West again to the fire escape, where the Kaiser building, Cher's target, can be seen. Owned by Ultima Kaiser and several other businessmen, it's a combined office, hotel, art gallery and more. There will be a lot of security tonight as they are celebrating their 5-year anniversary. I go up the stairs to the roof where I can get a look in the sky at the not yet obliterated planet Palmer. Up here I use the hang glider to approach the Kaiser building. Looking for a place to land, one of the wings gets caught on a lightning rod and torn. She lands painfully, but at least it was on the Kaiser building roof. I go north and east to the edge of the roof where the lightning rod is and take it, then back west and west again to go into a corridor. South to a corner, then west to end up in a fight with a robot security guard. The lightning rod takes it out in 3 hits, allowing me to take its laser gun. I continue north into the eastern lift. I take it down to the 10th floor and get out. West into a passageway and west again to the gallery entrance. I'm told the exhibit is currently closed and to come back tomorrow. Back into the lift and taking it down to the 6th floor. South puts me in the restroom where there's a hand mirror to swipe. Back north and east into the cloakroom, then north into a ballroom where a gala is taking place. Someone just left a key lying around, so I take it. It's for the number 5 coin locker. I dump the surfboard and the lightning rod here. Then I get back to the room outside the lift and go west into a corridor, then west again into the centre of this floor, then north into the central lift. I take it down to the 3rd floor. Outside I go east into the restroom. There's another key in here to take. This one for coin locker number 8. Back to the central lift, I ride it down to the ground floor. I get out and go east to the locker room. Opening the number 5 locker gets me a brown bag with a contact microphone inside. The number 8 locker has a gym bag inside, this one getting me a climbing set. Back into the central lift, I ride it up to the 9th floor. Out here I go east to end up outside the door to this floor's 15th room. I can use a contact mic on this door to have Cher listen in. We aren't told exactly what she heard, but we can guess by her sudden embarrassment. Back west and west again to end up outside the floor's 14th room. When she listens through the door, she learns that the security cameras can be disabled, and just as one of them gives away the password to the 5th floor's security system, Cher is discovered. But she manages to hide behind the lift before the door fully opens. I go back down to the ground floor and then west into the lobby, then north into the western lift. I ride it up to floor 11 and get out, then move east to a dead end. This puts me in a fight with a robo guard. I hold out the hand mirror to reflect its own laser shots back at it, destroying it. It also drops an ID card for me. I can inspect the iron grille covering the air vent to find that Cher could fit inside it, and the art gallery is directly below. Back into the lift and down to the 5th floor, then west for another fight with a security guard. The hand mirror deals with this one too. Further west into the control room lobby. There are cameras here and the only way to get around them is to use the climbing set to crawl along the ceiling out of their view. At the control room entrance is a card slot, so I use the ID card on it. I get inside and approach the computer terminal, needing to input the password. Sure hears someone approaching and hides. Two men come in, tap something into the keyboard and leave. For some reason they turned off the security system. So I go back up to the dead end on the 11th floor, blow open the iron grill with a laser gun and crawl through the vent. Once Sher can see the gallery, we find out why those two men turned off security. A team of thieves are also after the painting and are cutting through the gallery shutter. I move south to the end of the air vent and climb down into the gallery. Moving south takes me to the Masterpiece collection. I take the Opa Opa painting, setting off an alarm. Not all security was disabled. I head back north and north again to find the shutter. Torn apart by the thieves, but they were scared off by the alarm. Moving east into a secret stairway, I find a smoke bomb. The colour of the wall is a little different here, and pressing it opens up a way to the 12th floor. From there, I return to the edge of the roof and use a climbing set to climb down the wall of the building. I climb down until I can enter the cloakroom through its open window. There's a skimpy outfit on the wall, and taking it has Sher change into it. With it on, Sher can pose as a member of the party staff and walk back into the ballroom unsuspected. Then I can use a smoke bomb to set off a fire escape. Sher can then blend in with the evacuation and make her escape while the other thieves are arrested. The theft is reported on the news the next day, the arrested thieves receiving the blame despite the painting not being recovered, and Sher gets away with it. That was also okay. We didn't really learn anything new about Sher the way we did other characters, it's just a random adventure she had before the original game. Which is fine, just not that interesting. But that's all of them completed. Some of them had stories I really liked, others were okay, one got on my nerves. That's a decent outcome altogether, I'd say. They added some more flavour to the world of Phantasy Star 2 and improved some of the characters, which is good. But the story wasn't the only parts of the games, there was actual gameplay, and I must say the experience of actually playing them drags things down a bit. I've already complained about the naff combat and lack of checkpoints, meaning bad dice RNG can have you repeating an entire chapter. But there's the need to navigate the menu for literally every action, especially when you need to backtrack several screens with no map and the description of previous areas not repeating unless you manually go through the menus and look at the area again. And that gameplay experience really hampered its ranking. I knew this would end up in the lower end of the OK section when I was done, but to its credit it wound up a bit higher than I was expecting. I was originally thinking of putting it at 178th, the very bottom of the first tier. But with more time to think back on the game, it edged its way up to 166th, below the first Tekken but above Psycho Dream. This makes it the lowest ranking Phantasy Star game so far, with each successive game I've covered being ranked lower than the last. But at the same time, these are minor download exclusives from a long dead, very early online service, so I can't expect the world from them. While there is another text adventure in this series, when I next revisit this series, I'll probably be back to covering one of the RPGs. Of course, there are a few places I could go with that for the next one. We'll just have to wait and see which one I feel like trying first.